What's going on, boys? It is day number 32 of reading through the book of Isaiah. It is currently 11:15 when I'm recording this. I'm going to try and make this a pretty quick video just because I am struggling to keep my eyes open right now, and I am just really looking forward to finishing the day off right with this devotional, but then also getting some rest. So I'm going to try and explain this as best as I can without yawning too much, so please forgive me. So for today, we're going to be looking at two topics, pretty short. First one's going to be talking about the kingdom of righteousness, and then the women of Jerusalem. So I have one verse from each that I want to share. So the first verse is verses 3 through 4, and it says, "Then the eyes of those who see will no longer be closed, and the ears of those who hear will listen. The fearful heart will know and understand, and the stammering tongue will be fluent and clear." So I believe that the kingdom of righteousness, or some of us may know it as the kingdom of God, brings upon things that couldn't be achieved by worldly matters. So by things that we see, in the world today, maybe people we see. And a lot of people think that, if they just become like that specific person, or if they take that product, that they're going to become this better version of themselves, and they're going to become, so much more, applauded for and maybe unrecognizable. But what we fail to realize is that, we all seek this form of success and power. But what we fail to realize is that with that comes loss, and also comes failure. But when we seek the true kingdom of righteousness, we can really start to see how, we can come to our senses, and it allows us to see and hear the truth. We can really, really picture what these things look like in our head about maybe people around us or certain events that have been happening in the world. And it really helps to kind of differentiate, people who are noble and follow God, and the people who are wicked and who don't, and go by and follow these evildoers. And I really think this is a great kind of indication that, what I would consider as, common sense. And, common sense is something that, I'm sure a lot of us have heard before, but to me, the word common sense is just another way of saying, like, the normal, like the things you would expect, things that, you should do to an answer or approach a situation. And, it mentions multiple times, these, it kind of repeats a couple words, but in the end, I do believe that, we really start to see that success and kind of fall into that righteousness category when we begin to, give God all of our glory and say, hey, like, I depend on you for the future of my life, for the decisions, for the things I do with my family, to the things I do with my job, and kind of how I want to move forward. And so the second verse I want to read is in this second topic about the women of Jerusalem. And it's going to be near the end. It's verses 17 through 18, where it says, "The fruit of that righteousness will be a peace. Its effect will be quietness and confidence forever. My people will live in peaceful dwelling places, in secure homes, in undisturbed places of rest." So, the fruit of the Spirit is kind of what came to mind here. And, the women of Jerusalem, this immediately kind of made me think about, just not necessarily women of Jerusalem, but just kind of all women, during this period of time where, most women were, usually at home taking care of family and cooking and stuff like that. And it really made me think, what does it look like to, see that kind of picture? Like, what does it look like for a godly woman? Now, I wouldn't know what that looks like because, number one, I'm not a woman. But from what I hear and from what I see, being a godly woman is something that's a very tough process. And, from where it starts off with in the beginning, from verses 9 really all the way to 13, Isaiah's talking about how these women basically have to strip themselves and wrap themselves around with cloth and just press on as these cities become destroyed. From the previous chapters we've been covering about these nations who were being warned by Isaiah from words of God before he came down to destroy it. But ultimately, going back to my set of verses, sometimes, the Spirit will place us in situations in life and allow us to be alone with God, to where we don't share things with other people. We don't really share our journey with other people, not because we don't want to, or because, we are, cocky, or we are just selfish, but because we want to just focus on what we have with God. Because when we have no other distractions and focus on what's just with God, that's when we really can start to see that success, and we can start driving forth into, what we want to be and what we were meant to be, what we were called for when we were created. And sometimes this level of confidence can take a lot of time. And then that last part of verse 18 where it talks about, dwelling places and secure homes, undisturbed places of rest. I want you to think about, where you currently live now, whether you still live with your parents, or you live on your own, or you live with other family, or you live with your spouse, and think about the kind of home that you have. Think about how you got it, and how you're able to keep it, how you're able to keep pressing on every day. And I know for me, I'll share mine. I still live at home with my parents, and I know that I get to live here not because, I don't have the ability to go somewhere else, but because, it just makes the most sense for the way I do things in my life. And I get to, be here with them every day and, tell them things about what's going on with work and just daily life. So I encourage you to think about, these kind of homes that you have and what keeps it going, and how you got yourself here, and why you think you're going to continue forward. And just pray to God and just give Him glory for providing you with a place to thrive, because there's a lot of people out there who don't have that opportunity. So take it all in and use everything you've got. That is today's word. I hope that you guys have had a great Saturday. I hope to see you guys very soon. Peace out, boys.